Check out that professional intro. I managed to do the transition.
Good.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Website Investing Show. You've got me and Elena today. Mark is not here. He's doing something. The kids have changed school. He's got to go to the kids' school for something. So he's stuck with me and Elena today. Good or bad? How's your week going, Elena?
It's good. It's quite busy this week. Well, it's good.
Yep.
It's a good type of busy. Tonight, I'm also busy tonight as well. I've got my partner's work Christmas party that I need to attend to.
Oh, very nice.
I've got my Christmas party next week and my wife's Christmas party. Lots of drinking the next 2 weeks. But yeah, pretty busy. How about your week?
Yeah, good. Is it a posh Christmas event party tonight? Is it a fancy dress up one or?
They said we should dress up as a Christmas character.
I thought you were going to say Christmas tree then for some reason. Who are you going as then?
I'm just not going as anyone.
Just go as yourself.
I'm going to wear this Christmas jumper that I bought recently. And very casual. But apparently not many people are dressing up for any Christmas characters. So it will be fine.
That's fair. That's fair enough. Yeah, my week's been busy. Busy just doing normal stuff, to be fair. Like nothing exciting this week. If you tuned in last week, you would have heard that I was going to go and watch Pete Tong last week, live in concert with the orchestra. And yeah, it was great. We didn't even get to see him because my wife couldn't hold her drink. And we were home in bed by 9:30. She was being sick in the toilet. Terrible for a lady in her 30s. Well, I don't know what she was thinking. But the bottomless brunch got the better of us, to be fair. The pair of us were in a bit of a state. So we didn't even get to see him. We were like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to go and see Pete Tong. No, didn't see him. But today we're going to be talking about an exciting topic. We're going to be talking about an introduction to entity building via schema. And before I get into that, I'm going to do some housekeeping and things. And then we're going to talk about entity building via schema, which is going to be a little bit more of a technical topic. I've tried to make it as simple as I can on my presentation, and I'm going to show lots of examples and things like that. And then Elena's going to do her age domain teardowns that we normally do. So before we do it, just some housekeeping stuff. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. The more people that we can get liked and subscribed, the further and wider we can share this message and share kind of our teachings. A big part of what we do is giving away our knowledge on the stream. If we get to 35 likes, then we are going to do a giveaway. So if you're now watching, please go and like the video on YouTube. If we get close to that, Elena's going to show us the dog's year, Alfie's dog's year, just to try and tease us to get a couple more likes in. And if we get 35, we can see Alfie the dog. I know we're pushing this one hard. We've launched it a couple of weeks back, our new digital PR service. The results are incredible. Honestly, like we're gathering some testimonials from some of our earlier clients now. They absolutely love it. Like it's incredible, the feedback. And the links the boys are landing and the team are landing are just incredible. So if you've been thinking about digital PR, now's a good time because we've got some offers on, which leads me to my next thing. It's still Black Friday for us. Black Friday offers on until the end of this week. So you've literally got a day or two if you want to take advantage of them. And it's 20% more content on any content packs, anything to do with content, age domains, done for your website, content packs, etc. And it's up to 10% off the digital PR service. So if you've been thinking about giving it a try, then now is the time. So that's out of the way. Who have we got in here? Lots of people in here already. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Jake. Hey, Kuldeep. I think I'm pronouncing that right, potentially. Adrian, Simon, Brian, Carly, Fruitback Cat. Good to see you all back on the stream again. But let's get into it. I made a nice presentation. There's a lot of text in this one, so I'll make it full screen. And essentially, this is going to be talking about using a type of schema, a type of entity schema, and injecting that into existing or new pieces of content in order to try and build authority and to essentially increase traffic on your website. Now, this is fairly new for me. I've been delving into this for the last couple of weeks, and it's actually really difficult to wrap your head around the concept first and foremost, the concept of why we're doing this, and then the concept of actually how to implement it. And big shout out to Israel Gadetti, I think. Again, I'm terrible with pronouncing names. He produced the guide on this. He's been talking about this for a while. His guide was very useful. But there's other people in the space. There's Corey that's been talking about semantic SEO for a long time and seen incredible results. So I needed to dive in, and this presentation is basically introduction to what I've been learning about over the last couple of weeks. So I want to preface all of this by saying we're not experts in this yet. We are learning this very quickly as we go, but this is just a kind of like an introduction session to everything that we've seen so far. So before we talk about the actual implementation of this entity schema and how we're going to mark up pages, it's really important for us to understand how Google actually works these days. And back in 2012, they switched from basically keywords over to this things not strings approach. And if you take a query like Taj Mahal, you put that into Google, for a long time, Google was all about, or any search engine was all about matching your keywords to queries. And to a search engine, to Google back in the day, the words Taj Mahal would have literally just been that two separate words, Taj and Mahal. And then they switched to this things not strings approach to try and get a bigger understanding or a better understanding of what is Taj Mahal. Sure, it's two words, but it's actually a thing, and it's got a lot of connected parts and connected things to it. And apparently, as we all know, Taj Mahal has a much richer meaning, because, and depending on who you are or where you are in the world, you could think of Taj Mahal as different things. So you might think of it as a beautiful monument, or you might think of it as an award-winning musician, or a casino in Atlantic City, or even if you've just been to the local Indian restaurant and it's called Taj Mahal. Like, all of those things could be essentially to a search engine what you are trying to find when you type in Taj Mahal. So rather than they're just trying to match it to one thing, they've moved to this approach of things not strings, which is basically trying to build up a bigger and better picture and understanding of exactly what you trying to search for, what the meaning behind your search is. And the main reason, or the main way they try and do this, is through their knowledge graphs. So because of Google's knowledge graph. So these next couple of slides are going to be an introduction to the knowledge graph. So this first one is, what is a knowledge graph? And it describes objects of interest and connections between them. So I'm going to read this out because the semantics of this is quite important. So a knowledge graph describes objects of interest, which is important, and the connections between them. So you've got connected objects and how they're connected. For example, a knowledge graph may have nodes for a movie, the actors in the movie, the director, and so on. So they're all they're all things individually. So the movie is a thing, the actors within the movie is a thing, the directors of a movie is a thing, and they're all connected together because they will share something of similarity, i.e. they were all in the same movie. And each node may have properties such as an actor's name or an age, and there may be nodes for multiple movies involving particular actors. So we think, Tom Cruise might have been in 6 films, so you might have 6 other films, other nodes connected to Tom Cruise for the other movies that he's been in. And users and Google, in particular, they can traverse this knowledge graph to collect information on all the movies which an actor appeared in, or if applicable, directed. And a really good use case of this, which you can probably understand better of this, is how Netflix understands what kind of films you're interested in. So when you give it the little thumbs up that I liked, or I disliked, or I really liked on Netflix for the recommendation, Netflix has a knowledge graph which says you like this film, and in this film there were these actors, and it was this genre, and it was a thriller, and it was directed by so-and-so. And when you like that, their knowledge graph then is able to say, well, oh, you might like this film because it has the same actors, and it was directed by the same person, or it's in the same genre. So even everyday things which you use, you might not realize that a knowledge graph is actually powering this. In the way I didn't realize that Netflix used a knowledge graph to power that kind of recommendation engine, but it does. And in order to use a knowledge graph, you've got to define the schema or ontology. And this essentially is the links between the things or the objects within the knowledge graph. So a link from a movie to a director must contain an object, type of movie to an object type of person. So the types are the actual describing factors. So the type movie is the describer of the movie, and the object type of a person is the describer of the person that starred in that movie. And in some cases, the links themselves can have their own properties. So a link connecting an actor and a movie might have the name of the specific role the actor played. So in the one below, we've got Tom Cruise is the actor, and the object is a person. And we've got Mission Impossible, the object type is a movie. And the link that connects them is Ethan Hunt, which is Tom Cruise's character that he played within Mission Impossible. But it doesn't always have to be this. There's tons of different uses for a knowledge graph. For example, you could have a link connecting a politician with a specific role in government, and they wouldn't obviously have a pseudonym or an alias. The way they might be connected might be the time period during which they held that role, or how long they were in that position for, or something like that. And that's the way the schema or ontology is constructed within the knowledge graph. So everything is linked to each other. Everything that's related is linked to each other. They've got to be linked by types, and those types can be different things like movies or person or location or object or something else. And the link that links them can change depending on the need of the data or the database. There's lots of knowledge graphs. And again, I didn't realize this was a thing. Obviously, I've just mentioned Netflix. We've got Google and Bing's knowledge graph, which supports search and answering questions within search. But Facebook also has, well, it is literally the world's largest social graph. And that includes information about music and movies and celebrities and places that Facebook users care about. And they built that up through a number of different ways. They built it up through running NLP language processing over groups and pages that people created to figure out what's this talking about. Whenever you create a group, you have to pre-enter specific fields around different topics, and that becomes structured data, which they then scrape and add to their knowledge graph as well. eBay is launching or has launched their product knowledge graph, and basically what eBay tries to do is look at every product that it has on its marketplace and understands the relationship between them. And also how they connect to the external world, things outside of that. So a good example of stuff in the eBay knowledge graph is understanding that an iPhone might be connected to an iPhone case, but that iPhone case might only fit specific versions of an iPhone. So the link between them might be what version phone the case will fit on, for example. And then another famous one, which you might or might not know as a knowledge graph, is IBM Watson. Watson was on the telly on Jeopardy. It's really famous for winning Jeopardy against human contestants. And they've got a number of uses, but one of the big uses is discovering non-obvious information through relationships. So you feed it a ton of information, it then tries to connect them and find non-obvious relationships. And that's how they come up with answering real life questions, general knowledge questions, without really having an understanding of the world around them. It tries to find the connections and relationships in that way. And by the way, if there's any questions as we go through this, then feel free to pop them in the chat. So how big is Google's knowledge graph? It was launched around 2012, and within the first 7 months, it'd grown really quickly, and it covered 570 million entities. And of those 507 million entities, and you can think of entities as, like we just talked about, movie, person, location. Of those different entities, they had 18 billion facts about them. So you can think of a person, a fact might be location where they were born, date of birth, parents, siblings, job title, address, like all those kinds of different facts that can be associated with an entity. And then by mid-2016, Google reported that it now held 70 billion facts. And those 70 billion facts was starting to power the search results now, and it powered roughly 1/3 of the 100 billion monthly searches that they handled. And the latest data I can find is in May 2020, so 2 years ago, it now held 500 billion facts on 5 billion entities. So it's massive. It's got an incredible amount of data, and of the data, it knows about an incredible amount of things, and of the things it knows about, it's got facts on. It's got billions of facts on all of them. Essentially, there's so much data involved in there. And where does this data come from? So a good chunk of Google's knowledge graph data came from when they purchased a company called Freebase. It's like a free database website in 2010. And by 2014, there was 2.4 billion facts within Freebase. But they also they have tons of other sources, and some of them are interesting for us to look at. I want us to look at them in a second, but they include the CIA World Factbook, which, if you've never seen, is incredible. They've got facts on everything, every country, all kinds of weird and wonderful data in there. They take their data from Wikipedia because it's structured in a very specific way. They look at Wikidata, DPopedia, basically anywhere online which has a source of structured data. And they'll even take stuff which is unstructured, and they'll do that by running. So they can ingest data from just chunks of text, paragraphs of text, and they can do that by running the NLP algorithm over it, the natural language processing algorithm over it, and pulling out the meanings of that text as well. So it doesn't always have to be structured, but lots of the time it is. So I want to show you these structured data sources because they are quite fun to look at. So you should be able to see my United Kingdom World Factbook here. No, hold on. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Cool. So this is the CIA World Factbook, and if you've not been on the website, I'd highly recommend you just search for CIA World Factbook and have a little look. I've gone to the United Kingdom, and this is the kind of information it holds. So obviously country flag and the map, etc. But it also holds information on geography, people, environment, government, energy. And what that means is it's got the facts in a structured format. So the area of the land, for example, the climate, the terrain, elevation, how the land is used, what languages are spoken and broken down by, age structure broken down by different groups. It's got a ton of different there's so much data in there. Facts about the economy, government, energy, all kinds of stuff. How many airports you've got with paved runways, with unpaved runways, how many heliports the UK's got. It's just an incredible amount of data, and you've got that on every single country in the world, essentially. We've also got cool things like this, weights and measures. And if you ever stuck on how you convert a weight and measure, like this is the site to come to. So the first one is how numbers are actually represented. So these are quite simple. 1,000 looks like this, 100 looks like this. And then you've got metric relationships. And then we've got conversion factors. You've got acres to hectares multiplied by a certain number, and acres to square feet, and all kinds of stuff. You've got centimeters to yards. Well, the list goes on and on, essentially, of all the different types of data they hold. And you can see it's structured in a way. And what this allows to do when it's ingested into Google is if you query something which is in yards, and you say, how big is a football field in meters? And they might only have on their knowledge graph the football field size in yards. They can quickly then use this relationship, which is yards is also connected to meters, and it's connected by this relationship. Oh, I know that yards to meters, I need to times it by this. And then on the fly, they can very quickly then return the answer, which is actually, oh, the football field is X meters, because it knows the relationship between yards and meters. It understands that you want it to convert it, and it knows that this is the relationship that connects the two together, essentially. So this is one kind of source of information. This is very factual about countries and references and weights and measures, etc. But another big part of the knowledge graph is people and places. Obviously, people and places make up lots and lots of different searches. And this website here is, I'll find where it comes from, but you can come in here and you can click it. And essentially you can look through what they hold. So we've got, and you can see how they're connected. So we've got agents, which is basically people, organizations, or fictional characters. And you can see that they've got 1.6 million persona entries in the database. So if we click on person, that's then broken down by the whole data on athletes and artists and politicians. And if you click on artists, that's broken down further by actors and musical artists and sculptures. And all of these are connected in a way. So they might have one person in their list, and it might be a musical artist, but it knows that musical artist is connected to artists, and it knows that artists are connected to people, and it knows that people are connected to agents. And each one of these connections will have different relationships and different values that are associated with them. And from that, that's how Google basically knows when you type in, when you type in an athlete's name into Google, it understands that it's an athlete, and it understands that it's a motorsport racer, for example, and it understands that you might also be interested in looking at other motorsport racers, and it might understand that you might be looking for the cars that this motorsport racer drives, and that might be another relationship and entity within the knowledge graph. So you've got this person drives an F1 car, and that F1 car is then related to F1 teams, and those F1 teams might be broken down into Ferrari and McLaren, and then Ferrari itself might be broken down into, well, that also drives road cars, and you go to Ferrari road cars, and then from there you go, it's connected, and the list goes on and on. Essentially, the knowledge graph is just a massive connection of all of these different relationships, and it's like a rabbit hole. You can keep going down further and further and further, and the relationships never end, essentially. But I think this is cool. This is cool to see and to visualize. And you can click winter sport, and then within winter sport, you've got skier and speed skier, skater and curler, etc. And this is just another area of database that Google basically ingested. It's DBpedia essentially, sorry. And all this data is now within the knowledge graph. So I think that's cool to have a little play around with. I'll pop these in the chat afterwards so you guys can have a play around with them and have a little look at them, because I think they're really interesting. And all of this is cool, but like all this has been building up to how can this help our websites? Like this is cool, understanding what's going on in the background and how Google works and all that kind of stuff. But we can add structured data to our content that links back to these known entities within Google's knowledge graph. And this helps us describe essentially the page on our website to crawlers by making the connection explicit with the structured data. So there's no ambiguity. And what I mean about that is if you've got a page on apples, if you think of all the entities that Google has on its knowledge graph about apples, you could be talking about apples, the fruit. You could be talking about Apple, the technology company. You could be talking about Apple, like an Adam's apple that a male has in their throat. You could be talking about tons of different Adam's apple. And what we're trying to do with this kind of schema is on that page in a structured format way, so that Google's crawlers, when they come to the page, it's in the head of the page, the first thing they see exactly what you are talking about, that you're talking about Apple the fruit, because you are saying, hey, Google, I'm talking about Apple the fruit, as mentioned in, and then you link off to one of its known trusted sources that is in their knowledge graph, and they connect the two and say, oh, awesome, we know that this piece of content is actually about Apple the fruit, and therefore we can disregard everything else, and now all we're looking for are connections to Apple the fruit. And the way that we do this is by using two different specific schema vocabularies, and they're called abouts and mentions. So this is an about vocabulary. It's used to link to a trusted source already within Google's keyword knowledge graph, and it's specifically, the about is specifically about the core topic of the page. So InLinks has a very good piece of content that explains this, and I've taken a screenshot from the InLinks website here, and you can see in the top we've got URL. That's the URL of the piece of content that this code is going on. It's an about. So this is what we talk about when we use about vocabulary. It's an about type of schema. And then we say the thing that we are saying this piece of content about is search engine optimization. And then we say same as, and then it's linked through to the Wikipedia page that talks about search engine optimization. And we say also, this page is about a thing called WordPress. the same as, and then link through to the Wikipedia page that talks about WordPress. So when Google comes to this page, they scan the code, they see this page, dixonjones.com, is about search engine optimization. And I know that because I can see that it's connected to the Wikipedia page about search engine optimization. Oh, I've got an entry for that in my knowledge graph. Well, it's also about WordPress. And I can see that from the wiki page, and I've also got that in my knowledge graph. So without ever reading any more of the code on the page or any of the text on the page, it already has an understanding that it's looking for connections to search engine optimization and WordPress. And you've explicitly told Google that that's the case. The other aspect of this is called mentions. And again, it's used to link to trusted sources already within Google's knowledge graph. And most people, when they talk about this, they talk about wikification, and they'll talk about linking through to Wikipedia data, because a big chunk of Google's knowledge graph is made up of Wikipedia data, especially the kind of content that we are talking about when we talk about niche and affiliate websites. But the mention is slightly different to the about. So the about stuff is linked to topics that are the core of the piece of content. So in this case, it's a piece of content about search engine optimization within WordPress. So you'd link to search engine optimization and WordPress. The mentions are other topics that are mentioned within the body of the piece of content, but it's not specifically about that as a whole. So in this case, we've got search engine. Search engine is mentioned in the piece of content, so it's the same as the Wikipedia page on search engine. And then we also mentioned website and blog and digital marketing and Google and print and marketing, and it's linked back to all of those Wikipedia pages that talk about all of those aspects. And again, what this does from a kind of crawler level is Google comes on there and it says, even before it reads gets to any of the blog content itself. Oh, sorry, Luke. That's my phone vibrating. So even before Google gets to any of the content itself, it scans this code and it already knows or should, from a machine kind of level, and have an understanding of exactly what the topic of the piece of content is going to be about. That's not to say that it uses this completely, because it doesn't. It goes on and does its thing that it normally does. But this is a big part in helping Google understand exactly what you are talking about. And this is the code. I'll probably pull it up I'll share my screen in a different way and pull it up in a notepad, because that will be easier. So share my screen here. And hopefully you can see this now. So this is what the code looks like. Is that zoomed in enough?
Can you put it in full screen? That notepad. Yeah, that's it.
Is that better?
I think that's better, yeah.
Shall I open up in Word and zoom in a bit? Or
let's see what the comments say, because I can see it. I think that's better, yeah. Is
that better?
Yeah, that's it. That's better, cool. Much better. Yeah.
So this is what the actual code looks like, and this is how you would start to pull it together. So it's a script, obviously, and it's a JSON script. We talk about the context that it's to do with schema. We're going to be putting this on a web page. Now, each piece of schema on your page needs to have an ID. So essentially, you put in the URL for the piece of content that you want to add this to, and then you can add something at the end. You can add something like rich snippet at the end, or something to make this a unique ID. And then we've got our about. And we say about, and I've pulled this together as an example of if we were going to write a piece of content about Jack in the Box sauces. So Jack in the Box is in like the restaurant in the US and what sauces they offer. So the first thing we want to tell Google is this piece of content is about Jack in the Box, and it's also about sauces. So what we say is we've got a type thing. The thing that we're talking about is Jack in the Box, and we say it's the same as, and then we link to the Wikipedia page, which is about Jack in the Box. And if we pull this up, this is the page that links to it. This is Jack in the Box, the American fast food restaurant Wikipedia page. And we also say it's the same as this wiki data page as well. And if we pull that up, again, it's Jack in the Box, American fast food restaurant chain. And both Wikidata and Wikipedia are trusted sources by Google that they pull data from the knowledge graph from. So by linking to these two specifically, within here, we can say that, hey, Google, we're talking about Jack in the Box, but we're not talking about Jack in the Box, the toy. We're not talking about Jack in the Box, anything else other than the American restaurant company, Jack in the Box. And then we've got a description saying it's an American fast food restaurant chain. And we also say we're talking about sources, source, and we say same as, and again, we link through to the Wikipedia page about sources, and we're talking about sources to do with food, no other kind of sources. And we talk about linking through to the Wikidata page about sources too, liquid creaming, food served or used in preparing foods. So essentially what we've done with this about type is say we've got two things which this page is exactly about. It's about Jack in the Box, the restaurant, and it's about sources. And these are the entities that you know about and you think are hyper-related to Jack in the Box sources. And then we have our mention section. So this is the bits which we say, which we talk about within the body of the text. So Jack in the Box sell or provide sriracha sauce. So we say, hey, Google, we're talking about sriracha sauce, and we're talking about this kind of sriracha sauce. And we link to the Wikipedia page, and this is the page for sriracha sauce. And then we also say, actually, we're also talking about sriracha sauce as in this brand of sriracha sauce. So this Wikipedia page is just to do with sources itself. Like this article is about the condiment, but sriracha is actually a brand. For the specific brand, then you can see this sriracha sauce page, which is what we also link to, because we're talking about the both of them. We're not just talking about one. We're talking about sriracha sauce, the condiment, and sriracha sauce, the brand. And we want Google to know that. So we say we're talking about both of them in our piece of content. We're also talking about sweet and sour sauce, and we link to the Wikidata page because there's no Wikipedia page on sweet and sour sauce. And we say we're talking about tartar sauce, and we link again to the Wikipedia page and the Wikidata page. And we're talking about garlic butter, and we link to the Wikipedia page, and so on and so forth. And I hope that kind of makes sense in terms of the abouts are exactly what the piece of content is about, and then the mentions then are essentially everything or as many things that you can think that are related in the body that have a relatable Wikipedia, Wikidata, or reliable source that you know Google pulls from its knowledge graph. How do I stop sharing that? So I've got to show me the code in here, but that's essentially the code. But in order to build that code, like where do you find entities? And there's a couple of different places you can find that. So I'll share my screen again and show you. But we've got one which is schemaapp.com, and they've got a nice little Wikidata lookup where you can just put in a topic in there, and it'll tell you if there's a related Wikipedia or Wikidata page. And then also I'll have a little look and show you about Israel's tool, because that's quite useful as well. So if we go back to this, this is the schema app Wikidata lookup name. So what I mentioned here is when I type in Jack in the Box and press search, these are all the things that the schema app returns as what could be inferred by Jack in the Box. So you could be talking about American fast food restaurant chains, or you could be talking about children's toys, or a music single, or a studio album, or a Norwegian music group, or piano work, or even an episode of MacGyver. So when we think about what's the value of marking this schema up on our webpage to Google, we think, because we've written the piece of content about Jack in the Box, we just think, oh, we know it's about Jack in the Box, the sources. But to Google, it could be any one of these things. They just see Jack in the Box, and it could be any one of these entities that they have. But by marking up and saying that it's this American fast food chain, they know, and they can exclude all of these essentially. And if you click Get Schema and scroll down to the bottom, essentially it's a pre-generated bit of schema that says that it's the thing. It's Jack in the Box, same as the Wikidata and the Wikipedia page there. And same for, if we look at that sriracha sauce one again. Talking about hot sauce, do you mean hot sauce, or do you mean the American brand of chili hot sauce? And if we look at Apple, just as another example, we've got Apple the fruit. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We've got the American technology company, yeah. We've also got apple weak organic acid. I didn't really know apple is a weak organic acid. We've got the film, 1998 film called The Apple. Apple as a family name, and also a 1990 album by Mother Love Bone. So Google doesn't know when it sees Apple on your page exactly what you're talking about unless you tell it specifically via this kind of schema. So this is where you can come and find lots of, it's a manual process. You come in and you type in, you've got a piece about Jack in the Box sources, and you've got your H2 tags, which say all the different sources that you have. And in here, then you can type in all the sources and see if there's something related. Or the other way to do it is to use this tool called Entities Checker. And this is Israel's tool. And I'll refresh it. Essentially, what it allows you to do is you can take an article. So I've found this one is number 1 for Jack in the Box sources. You can take it. You can paste in the URL here, and then we're going to extract the entities from the title tag and the meta, from the H1 to H4s, and any categories and topics. And what this tool does is it scans the page for all the different H1s, H2s, etc. And then it gives you the entities that they think are listed on there. So this piece of content talks about buffalo wings and condiments and Japanese cuisine and Jack in the Box and sweet and sour and hamburger, and you've got sauce, Jack in the Box, dipping sauces, chicken, food and drink. And the more that you can mark up your piece of content with related schema that appear frequently throughout other pieces of content, like competitors' pieces of content, the more detailed knowledge graph that you can give to Google and say, hey, this page is about Jack in the Box sauces. Here's my mini knowledge graph on this piece of content because I'm talking about sauces and Jack in the Box and dipping sauces and ketchup and dill and vinegar. And here's the related relationship back to like a Wikipedia page or a Wikidata page, essentially. So you can use those two tools. Have a look at them. They're awesome tools. They're both free as well. Play around with them. There's some more cool stuff you can look at on Entities Checker. And then once you have the code, so once you've generated that code, you're going to have to validate it. And you can do that by using this free validator.schema.org website. And you come on here, I'll take that Jack in the Box code that I was talking about earlier. You can press new test, and you can either fetch it from a URL or you can fetch it from a snippet of code. So in here, I'm going to paste in our Jack in the Box talking about sources and Jack in the Box and things like that. And you can run the test. And then in here, it's got no errors and no warnings. And you can see broken down quite nicely that we're talking about a web page. This is our unique ID for this schema. And then we're talking about an about, and it's a thing called Jack in the Box. And it's the same as the Jack in the Box Wikipedia page and Wikidata page. And it's a fast food restaurant chain. And there's the next about one where it's a sauce. And then we come into the mentions, the sriracha sauce, the sweet and sour sauce, the garlic butter, etc. And that's basically how you check to see if you've got any warnings or if you've created the code in a correct way. Once you've done that, you then need to add the code to your website. And this code is really easy to add. Once you've got that script, you can use a free plugin called Header and Footer Scripts plugin. And you basically add it to the head of each post. So it's a unique piece of schema that you make for each post. Add it into the head, and then that loads before the blog content does, and allows Google to read that script before anything else on the page. And you can also add it into any category pages. So this doesn't have to be done on a post level. If Jack in the Box sources sit within a condiments category on your website, you can mark up the condiments category page and tell Google, this is a category page all about condiments, as inferred by linking through to the Wikipedia page or the Wikidata page on condiments, essentially, if that's available, and you have to do a search to see what you can link back to. And then the biggest question of all this all sounds like a lot of hard work. Maeve says she hates writing schema and drives her mad. Yeah, it is really hard to write this stuff. And I'll talk about some tools that might be able to help you automate this, but it is a lot of work. And in all honesty, I have no idea if this increases your traffic right now. Israel is seeing some really good results. That's kind of what got me started looking at this. He's seeing some great growth from his websites, and he's talking about this in a big way, and he's implemented this across his websites. Corey is an incredible SEO, and he's seeing amazing results using semantic techniques. The only thing about Corey, feels like he's a different level. Like, he talks about stuff, and sometimes I don't even know what he's talking about. It's so complex. So I don't know if he's using this exactly, or he's using something similar to this, but he's getting incredible results. And then InLinks did a test that showed an improvement in rankings when adding the structured data. But if you read how they did the test was flawed. Some people didn't implement it correctly. Some people didn't implement it at all, etc. So I'm running my own test, and I'm going to share the results in a couple of weeks. My own test might actually be flawed. The way that I've done this is looked at an established website that I've got that's been really steady for a long time. I took the top 10 pieces of content that have been steady in terms of traffic for a long period of time. I marked up 5 with this kind of schema, and I left 5 as control. And I'm now going to wait for the next 30 days to come back and see, did it have a positive impact on those 5? Why I think my test might be flawed is I don't know if you need to do this for every page on the website. I don't know if just doing 5 is enough, essentially, to build that kind of authority and trust with Google. Israel, I had a chat with him, reckons probably isn't. So it might be a flawed test, but I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has tried this kind of stuff. Have they seen results? Is this just a lot of work for nothing? How have you seen it essentially working? And there's tools that can help you automate this. So InLinks is one of them. The only downside with InLinks is it's expensive. Essentially, they charge you on a per page basis or per post basis. And if you ever stop paying, and you kind of you move away from InLinks being a customer, it takes all that data with it. All that schema's gone. Like, it's not on the website anymore. So you're almost tied in to carry on paying for it. Paul mentioned another one here. WordLift will do a lot of the heavy lifting and will build an entity database inside your site, automatically creating links to Wikidata, then highlight them as you produce content. I've looked at WordLift, and it looks like a decent solution. My only thing with WordLift is, and I'll show you, I found a website that uses WordLift to do this kind of thing, and I'm not 100% sure on some of the use cases. So if I share my screen again, there's this website called Way of Martial Arts. This is using wordlift.io to inject schema this way. And if we take one of their URLs and we put it through the test, I can't remember if it's one of the URLs or it's one of the category pages, actually. Let's have a look at both. Yeah, so this is a slight example. So if we look at the piece of page, they've got, they're doing the same thing. So they've got the About Us, which is what we talked about. So what the piece of content is about, and they've got their unique ID and the description, and they've got the same as. And this is, I guess, where they've kind of tried to build their own knowledge graph of this, in that they've got the dppedia.org resources on the fighting championship. And then I think they've just converted it into a ton of different languages. And this looks all right on here. But if we look at the category page, we look at the thing, like, it's converted into so many languages. I don't know if this is useful or not. Like, you've got all this stuff in here. It might be, I don't know, but I want to do more research on the company to see if this is useful to convert, because they've converted into pretty much every language. I'm assuming there must be some kind of use for it, some kind of use case. But yeah, I want to see what that looks like. So for now, we're just doing it manually, just having to play around with it, trying to inject into a couple of posts. I think you can go a bit further. I've seen people talking about, once you have the entities defined for your page, if you internally link to that page using the entities as the anchor text, then that's great. And if you build links to that piece of content, if you use the anchor text as the entities, then that also gives it a boost. So I don't know. It's a really interesting topic. I only see many people talking about it. It's really hard to research all this kind of stuff. There's just a handful of people that seem to be talking and doing this kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it so far, where we're at. Nothing definitive, but interesting, if anything.
We have one question from Luke.
Yeah, this is super interesting. I never even knew this was a thing. At what stage of a site do you think this is necessary? Is this the icing on the cake, if that makes sense, or fundamental for all? I definitely don't think it's fundamental. I think Google is way past the point of requiring this to understand a piece of content. It's more of the incremental stuff, I think, when we talk about why would you publish a piece of content without doing internal linking? It's just incremental. And if the test works the way potentially other people are saying it could be a case of why would you publish a piece of content without marking up this kind of schema in there? And it's just another small aspect that goes towards, like you say, the icing on the cake, essentially, a small aspect that goes towards ranking a piece of content. What else do we have in here?
We have Clint videos about schema on SEO Fight Club. I haven't heard of that. SEO Fight Club.
Clint Butler, yeah. I've seen Clint about, but I've not watched any of his stuff. That'd be interesting because I have to go and. I'm assuming does he talk about this kind of schema, or is he talking about more local SEO or person or organization schema? Because if it's this kind of schema, then I'm gonna literally go and binge watch all his videos tonight. Maeve says, I've done this for years, not really seen a difference, but not really tested. Be interested to you, Maeve. Have you done it like the way that we've just showed there? And have you used any tools, or have you done this like in a manual aspect like that? So yeah, be interested to see what your feedback is there. And yeah, you interviewed him a few weeks ago. I didn't interview him. I think James interviewed him, and I've not caught up on that episode yet. So I'll have to go back and watch that one. Fruitcat Bat says, it's new to me. Thought schema was far more basic than this. Never thought further than that. Very interesting. Same. I've only ever thought of schema as like FAQ schema and organizational schema and some personal schema for like the about us pages and stuff. Recipe card schema, like that kind of basic stuff. And I think most people think of that because when you use Yoast or Rank Math or any kind of schema plugin, typically it has those basic schemas on there, and that's what most people are familiar with. But if you look at the schema.org website, there's so many different types of schema on there. It's unreal. Like this schema markup for everything. So yeah, it's quite new. It's quite new to me as well, to be fair. You said it's good to get you thinking about entities. That's the key. Cool. All right. Definitely going to give that a little look.
Yeah, I was quite interested when because Adam shared this with the team before this live stream, and it was really, really interesting. I actually haven't thought about schema in that way. As Adam said, I do about the recipe schemas and things like that. So this is brilliant. So just one question from me would be if the topic you're writing about for some reason hasn't got any sources from Wikipedia, or basically what source would you use to tell Google it's about this?
Yeah, well, in that case, you've got to think it's probably not an entity. If it doesn't have a Wikipedia page or a Wikidata page or a DBOpedia page, then you've probably got your thinking about an entity wrong. Because if it was an entity, then it would probably have at least one of those sources. And it doesn't have to be those. Think, for example, another source of Google's knowledge graph for movies, for example, is IMDb.
Yeah.
Because that's a very structured kind of data in there, and they pull that in. You can see usually whenever you Google, if you Google something like a search query and you get the knowledge panel that appears on the right-hand side, if you click around in there, you'll see where it links off to, and that's an indication of where Google has got the data from. Most of those knowledge panels are made up from like Wikipedia, essentially. But there's tons of other stuff in there, like IMDb, etc., for movies and all that kind of stuff. And Paul says you can add it yourself to Wikidata. I didn't even know that was a thing. So yeah, I guess you just go on and create an entry about that. That could be good if you want to talk about, same as create an entry on Wikidata that represents your website's brand, I guess, or like the background story behind it. And I guess that would be much easier than trying to get a Wikipedia page talking about your new website, essentially.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Well, don't forget to like, guys. I think we're only on 18 likes now. We need 35 for the giveaway. Elena's going to do age domain teardowns, but by the time she's finished, I know we can get 35 because there's like 20 people watching now. So like, yeah, should be easy. Should be easy. But yeah, over to you, Elena, to do your age domain teardowns. And if anyone's got any more questions or anything useful to add, then pop it in the chat and we'll pick it up at the end then.
Right. So the first age domain is Inkspot Crow, and the name doesn't really suggest what the niche is about, but the niche is wedding, and it's pretty good age, so it's 11 years old. It has a DR of 14 and 145 referring domains. We have actually recently picked up quite a lot of wedding niches in the wedding space, so yeah, this one is one of those. So it looked like this, and it was basically business, if you like, about it was a videographers and photographers that shot your special day weddings. So you can hire these guys and they will come to your wedding and film it and photograph it and all that stuff. So it was kind of the digital footprints of that business. You can see their work on their portfolio, contact them, information. As you can see, weddings, branding, about and home. So very straightforward kind of purpose. If you hover on it, it kind of changes, which is kind of cool. But yeah, very simple, straightforward domain that was about videographers and photographers for weddings. The backlinks are wonderful. Now, the thing that stands out to me of the backlinks of this H domain is that they're not only high quality, but they are also niche relevant, which is not it's not a very common thing to come with H domains. Sometimes you get really high quality backlinks, but they're like news sites and things like that. But just a second, because Alfie is crying, so I need to let him out of the cage.
Yeah, I could hear Alfie crying there. Yeah, this I can't control Elle on the screen here, but oh, here we go. She's back. I was going to start going through some of the backlinks, but then I can't control these screens. I can't scroll down.
Sorry about that. Because I normally put Alfie on the crates when I stream, otherwise he makes a mess. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, for me that stands out is that it's very high quality, niche relevant backlinks. So we're seeing MarthaStewart.com, Style Me Pretty, Wedding Chicks, Junebug Weddings, Ruffle Blog, and we have StyleBlueprints.com, CarrotsAndCake.com, we have BridalMusings.com, Offbeat Brides, Offbeat Wed, Southern Weddings, we have Love Stories TV, then we have more weddings down the line as well, as we're seeing here. So that stands out to me, and that's really what you want when you look at H domains. Ideally, you want to see high quality news sites or things like, you know, the New York Post and BuzzFeed, and then another kind of layer of high quality niche relevant backlinks. So we are seeing high quality niche relevant backlinks, which is great. The anchor texts are exactly what we want to see, really. So at the top, after I have filtered them highest to lowest, we are seeing branded, and we're seeing films is because they filmed weddings, not just take pictures. So, and then we have on the second spot again branded, and then branded, and really very clean anchor text profile. Nothing really negative to say about it. We have branded at the top, which is exactly what we typically tend to look for. Now, in terms of the best pages by incoming links, what we're seeing is that the majority of the backlinks are pointed towards the homepage, which is perfect. I don't think there's anything really that we should recreate here, as this one that has 3 backlinks pointed to it is actually a JPEG.
Yeah.
It's an image, and typically when you see pages that images, they're normally spammed by Blogspot. So yeah, typically we'll just ignore these. This is kind of the blog section of that, which is going to be part potentially of our initial site build anyway. So it has web wiki, so it doesn't really have anything amazing about this. So really, I don't think anything really will need recreating here, because we have someone's wedding here, highlights of someone's wedding. Do we want to recreate that? Probably not. So yeah, the majority are gone towards the homepage, which is nice and easy, no cleanup really required. Now the wedding niche is actually really interesting because some people take years to plan their wedding, and when it comes to planning such a important event of your life, there's so much involved, from what to wear to your guests to the cake to the food, to really anything you can think of. No wonder why it takes some people years to plan. Depending on your budget, you can go really crazy on the planning and organizing of your big day. This is good though, because this means that there's a lot of people asking loads of questions on Google, and this is where our domain comes into hand, and this is where we answer people's questions, and you'll get traffic. So just because this domain was about videographers and photographers, it's wedding related. We have strong wedding related backlinks. The purpose of the business was weddings, so it is very much in the wedding space. So don't worry about feeling the need to just do wedding photography. It can be more broad than that. I think initially we're going to have to set up some sort of foundation about capturing your big day as a starting point, just because we want to keep the relevancy as much as possible, and then move on to other content. But this is kind of what it looks like. So informational articles on everything to do with your big day, from planning a wedding to guest invitations to wedding songs. This is going to be a fantastic listicles opportunities here. Photos, so that we can keep the relevancy, and videographers and video filming your wedding, and opportunities for that as well. And then we can also touch up on traditional weddings. And this is something that I haven't really seen many competitors doing. Because people have this misconception, some people have this misconception that it's a white dress and church and that's it. But it's not really that. Like, if you think about Indian weddings, there are so many, people that live in India, for example, or, people that, let's say a British person gets married to an Indian woman and they want to get married, and they want to have an Indian wedding. So it's a completely different style of it, right? So different planning, different clothing, different food, different traditions. So I think we can really stand out and touch up on traditional weddings in different cultures and countries like Mexican, Indian, etc. And of course, we'll cover the classical weddings, but we can touch up on that stuff as well. And of course, we can do listicle types of articles on wedding dresses, wedding styling, wedding cakes for your big day. And this is going to be a good monetization opportunity, because wedding dresses cost money. And if we show 100 amazing wedding dresses, like designer wedding dresses or whatnot, also you can do, you can split that into, for example, the body shape of the woman, maybe chubbier or curvier or skinny, short, tall. People have different physiques, and they will require different sizes, different dresses, and we can show them some nice pictures of what they look like. And yeah, we can be very, very creative when it comes to that stuff. The monetization, as I said, can come from everything wedding related, from dresses, tiaras and accessories, invitation letters that we can think about as well, we could utilize, and of course display adverts. So plenty of opportunities in terms of monetization. So the first competitor I want to show you is an incredibly long domain name, which is not something I recommend that you do if you do register a domain.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is. Affordable weddings, wedding venues, and menus.com. TR24, so slightly higher authority than us, generating 38,000 per month. And I like what these guys are doing, because they do a lot of things on the budget. So they do, for example, how much does a small wedding cost? Bridesmaid box ideas. We have catering, wedding catering on a budget, backyard wedding cost. We have budget rustic wedding ideas, which I like. This is the type of content I quite like, because it's people look for ideas, and this is where you can really list ideas, actually, because it's good for listicles as well. You can choose the venues and interesting places you can get married. So this is type of content this one is doing for that particular one. We have how much does a wedding caterer cost? 4 wedding ideas on a budget. We have tea party, bridal showers, 4 bridal shower ideas. We have bachelor outfits. Again, this could be something interesting. We can provide ideas and potentially monetize if you want your this, as you can see, they have purchased by on Etsy, which is a good sign that we can monetize with that. We have signature drinks for a wedding and things like that. So yeah, it certainly covers things that we can definitely touch on. Yeah, I thought this was a good competitor. So I've only got one competitor because I wanted to show you a bit more on some keywords that we can potentially look at down the line. So I've done a few filtering. So I've done wedding and then questions and then filtered them to a keyword difficulty of 14. And we have some interesting low competition, at least based on Ahrefs, low competition keywords that have good search volume. So one of those is like, how many people should I invite to my wedding? And then we have what is a shotgun wedding, which I think is getting a decent amount of volume and relatively low competition, I would say. What happens if someone objects to the wedding? How to preserve wedding bouquet. We have also accessorizing here, how to accessorize a navy blue dress for a wedding. This is a type of content I think is really cool because this is just one type of accessorizing for a blue navy dress. We can do black dress, red dress, all sorts. How to dance at the wedding, which is interesting. How long is a wedding ceremony? How to make a wedding bouquet. How to decorate a wedding arch with fabric. What to wear to a casual weddings. So interesting here. High volume, I would say, pretty high volume keywords that we can consider as well down the line when it comes to planning our content. And this is the first one. And I'm going to do the next one, which is Eske's Brew Pub. And it's very old, that one. It's 21 years old, and an ish is beer. TR15, and it has 131 referring domains. So let's get to it. Okay, so this one was a brewery, but it also was a pub as well as a brewery. That makes sense. So they not only they basically served the beer they were brewing, but they also served food. So if you come down, first of all, this brewery was 25 years old. The domain is 21 years old. So this one, even before they decided to go online. 25 years old brewery located in X location. And they had food here. They showed their menu. As we're seeing here, they had a blog and they had vegetarian, vegan options, gluten-free, live music, events, just like a classic pub and a brewery serving their beer kind of thing with some food. So yeah, very straightforward kind of intention of this domain was kind of the online presence for that pub and brewery. Right, DR16, and it has 229 referring domains. Now let's take a look at those referring domains. We have some good ones. So we have homestead.com, we have Lonely Planet, which is good. We have Untapped, which is good. It's kind of like, this one is discover and share your favorite beer, which is interesting. It's kind of an app, I believe, but it's kind of niche relevant, I would say. It's an interesting app. We have Zomato as well, which is interesting. We have AppQ Journal, which is very good, high quality news site type of thing. If I open it, you can see it has it's like a news, which is good. We always like to see like a big mix of like niche relevant to high quality news sites getting good traffic and a high authority. And we have vinepair.com, which is good. And then we have a few niche relevance that I like. First of all, this one is fromers.com, and then we have Right Beer, and then we have craftbeer.com. So these two are standout, incredible niche relevant backlinks. We have newmexico.org, which is another high quality site that gets quite a lot of traffic. It's all about New Mexico. I believe the brewery was somewhere in that area, and this one is a good link, I would say. And then we also have All Menus, which is another amazing, can I say niche relevant backlink, because it kind of has places and restaurants, and I imagine it's like a TripAdvisor, I would say, but I think it's a good link. It has 6.6 million visits a month, so I think it's a good one. So yeah, this was kind of it. So we have a mixture of high quality news kind of sites, and then we have a mixture of nice niche relevant links as well. So very good. In terms of the anchor text, again, like we're seeing branded at the top, so I have nothing negative to say. In fact, there is many branded, many branded at the top, which is, it doesn't get any better than that, to be honest. So very, very good. In terms of the best pages by incoming links, once again, we are seeing that the majority of the backlinks are pointed towards the homepage. So again, probably nothing need recreating. This will need to be checked, but only really a handful, if any, will need to be recreated. So a cleanup process would be very, very straightforward. Right. So what is the kind of the strategy of this domain? Well, because it was a brewery, obviously it has kind of a foundation and kind of like the initial kind of, I don't know, setup was brewing beer. So I think we should definitely touch up on beer brewing, how to brew beer, tips, equipment you'll need, and all things brewing. And then we can also talk about more general beer queries. So I've got a few competitors I want to show you that are having general beer content that are ranking well. So I think we can definitely do kind of like a beer brewing to general beer content type of thing. So we have also food that pairs well with beer is a thing. It's not just wine that pairs well with food. We have other alcohols that can pair well. We can also do beer types, their ingredients, etc. I want to touch on that it can be many things like allergies, calories. We can do, are they gluten-free? Are they yeast-free? Many things, because people have different requirements. A bit niche, but it's a thing. So I'll show you with a few competitors. And for me, like the star of the show, apart from home brewing, beer brewing, would be listicle types of content around best breweries in X location. This is quite cool because I've seen, I'll show you a competitor that does that. It's basically putting together a nice long piece of content, listing the breweries in X location. And this can be a lot of content because there's many breweries in many different locations. So we can cover that quite extensively. And it's easy content, to be fair. It's like a list. You just list those breweries and their location. The monetization can be quite good because when it comes to brewing beer, you would require certain equipment, which can be expensive. And of course, we can monetize through display adverts as well. Down the line, we can also consider a beer brewing course, an ebook, etc. Okay, so the first competitor I want to show you is alcoholvolume.com. Now, this would explain this one a bit more. It's a DR6, so much lower authority than us, and it's generating, I would say, an okay 19,000 per month. But I want to show you kind of what they're doing. So they do percentages in alcohol, percentage alcohol in beers. So this is interesting content, I would say. They've kind of have a nice table here. They've listed the beers and the percentage of alcohol. It's kind of a listicle, I would say. It's like kind of a listicle. Like what is the alcohol content of beer, benefits of alcohol content.
Also, they internally linked to something in the table above. Yeah. Do those beers link anywhere?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good, which is smart, I guess. But yeah, so what else did I cover? Effects of highest effects. Oh my god, brain damage. Oh my god.
Scrap the Christmas parties.
I'm feeling a bit scared now because I'm planning on drinking beer tonight. But yeah, this is kind of what the thing they're doing. They also do like a lot of alcohol content, which is, I guess, something we could cover. And the search volume, I would say, is pretty good considering we're just talking about alcohol content. We have calories here as well. So let's open this. It's a type of beer, and it apparently it's like this has this taste, and we have the percentage of alcohol, and then where are the calories? Okay, here they are. So this one contains 290 calories in a 24-ounce can, and has carbohydrates and stuff. And yeah, this is an interesting. I thought to share this.
Go back to that page. That was a weird sentence there, Ed. Is this
where was it?
It was the calories page you're in.
Yeah, no.
Was it that one? The Modo.
Yeah, I think it was that one.
No, there was the one above it, I think.
Oh, the one above it.
Modulo number 7. That one.
Yeah.
Was it that one?
Yeah, that was one.
Yes, scroll down to that last paragraph, which is see where it says other products by group. After releasing the Chair, I can't pronounce that, launched 2 other variants of it.
Do you reckon that might be AI? Do you reckon that might be AI content?
I don't know whether they just meant to put a full stop there, potentially, or I don't know. I I can't see anything else in there. It's just
Also, it really bugs me when they don't use uppercase. Like,
yeah,
it really
yeah, interesting. Just to
I just
see
wonder. I just wonder what's their breakdown of headers. Because are these headers? Oh,
no, they're not. No,
don't think they are.
no.
Is that it? Wow. Okay. It's a very short piece of content, though. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Okay. But yeah, I thought it's interesting. Although they might not be doing the best job. I mean, I thought it's kind of it's a high volume pieces of content. I thought it could be interesting for us to explore down the line when it comes to kind of furthering that section of their general queries type of thing. Now, bisonbrew.com is another one that is higher authority than us, but he's doing an outstanding job, I would say. They are 34 and have 104,000 per month, according to Ahrefs. Now, these guys heavily target breweries in Lex location, which kind of solidifies and reassures us that this is an actual thing. It works because they are doing it very much. And in fact, they are getting very good search volume. So if you click on one of those, which is Portland Marine Breweries, and it's just a classic holistical, the best breweries in X location, which is Portland. If you go down, it's just listing them. We have this one, we have this one. It's not rocket science. Oh, this is cool. Check prices. Oh, okay. They're just listing. They're just okay. Okay, I'm not 21. So yeah, I'm just kidding. So yeah, it's just listing them. It's nothing complicated. Pieces of content, and this one is generated. This piece of content alone is generating nearly 3,000 according to Ahrefs. So that's good. That's really good. And then they're not even ranking position number 1. They're ranking position number 4. So yeah, heavily best breweries in X City. Like we have Salt Lake City. We have beer brewing machine, which is cool. This is something we'll be talking about down the line because we'll be talking about brewing. We have Richmond breweries. We have other queries in terms of beer brewing in general, like pressure fermentation, something we'll be talking about down the line as well, as we'll be discussing a lot of beer brewing information. But yeah, I just want to highlight that they have heavily locations of breweries, heavily. And I like the search volume. It's pretty good, pretty high, I would say, which is good. So it's a mixture of like breweries and information about brewing beer and general information on beer. Like there was some here. We have Mexican beer here. Does beer go bad? Which can go into our general kind of beer information. How to make hard seltzer. I have no idea what this means. But yeah, this is kind of what this competitor is doing, and it's doing really well because this is kind of what I would, aspire to take this SKS Brew Blog to, like get to this stage. We'll probably need a little bit of link building or digital PR to get us to this stage, and then take a look at that content and really focus heavily on those breweries and locations because they have good search volume, and this site is succeeding with them, if you like. Another thing I want to show quickly is just some keywords that I think are interesting, that again are relatively low competition and high volume. So how to shotgun a beer. I mean, it's a thing. It has 6.5 search volume, and then we have a lot of those are like, what time can you buy beer in certain states? I don't get. Is this an American thing? Like, what time? What time can you buy beer in Texas? Is there like a set time you can buy there? Like,
I wonder if there's. I wonder if that's something that could be expanded out to every state.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, potentially, and I don't know.
Because it has. There's more here. Pretty sure there was more. What time do they stop selling beer in Texas? And then what time can you buy beer? It's like, but I've seen a lot of competitors do that content as well. So it's not just this. But anyway, I thought it's interesting. Could be worth doing. It's American thing, so I don't know. I don't know much about what the situation is in America. But yeah. Anyway, other things that we can do that interesting here is that what is an IBU in a beer? Things like that. We have how does beer taste? Which is interesting. How much beer is in a keg? Interesting. How long does beer last in fridge? Again, these are all our general beer information that I think we can definitely include like a category or something. We have, why is root beer called root beer? So things like that. What is draft beer? What is domestic beer? What temperature does beer freeze? So yeah, I thought this is cool because we're looking at low KD, high search volume. So definitely something worth considering down the line as well. But yeah, this is a wrap, and that's the last one. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for going through those. I think they're good opportunities, especially the beer one. I think the beer one is really great, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. The beer one is good. It's still quite niche, I would say. There isn't like too many competitors right now. There are a few that are standing out, but there isn't like a huge amount, I'll say, yet. But it's a good niche.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, I don't think we're anywhere near the likes we need. We're only at 26. I don't know what's going on here. I don't even know if we should do it or not. I don't know.
No.
All right. Well, I'll take your word for it. Let's not do it then.
No. Everyone's gonna hate me.
I guess interesting question for me is, what are the ad rates like on beer ones though? I don't actually know what the ad rates are. I know we've worked with customers in the past that have been in this space, and they've had. My first thought about the space was like, can you monetize it with a traditional ad network like Ezoic or Mediavine? And they've had no issues getting approved on those networks. I should try and find out what the rates are like though. I imagine it'd be quite similar to potentially what food rates are. So in the low 20s range, I imagine. But yeah, it'd be interesting for us to find out. And yeah.
So I guess it falls into food and drink niche.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I think it would probably fall into that category and probably be around that kind of rate.
Okay. But yeah, I think it's a good one to find out.
For sure.
But again, like the monetization is good, because if you are to start brewing beer, you're someone new, we show you how to brew beer, you have to get X equipment. You can't just get from your local shop, right? It's often something unique, ideally something you can buy online, get delivered.
Yeah.
Good, because this is expensive equipment. So yeah, plenty of other opportunities for monetization as well.
Agreed. Hey, Tony. Bye, Tony.
Hey, bye.
We're just ending. What's going on here? Cool. I think that's it then. If we're not going to do the giveaway because we're only on 28 likes, we can wait till Mark is back next week. What are we talking about next week? Who's on next week? Lena, you're on with Craig next week. Craig Campbell over on Craig's channel on Tuesday.
Yep.
Talking about some more age domain teardowns. And I am not sure who we've got on our channel on Thursday. Let's have a look what is going on. So Thursday is Thursday the 8th of the 12th. Awesome. Next Thursday, we are talking, Jack and Jake are going to be on, and they're talking about how to launch a successful seasonal digital PR campaign, which coming into the season of Christmas is very timely. So if you're interested in figuring out how to hop on the bandwagon of, and I mean, there's a day for everything now. If you look up, there's National Something Day going on almost every day, and you can hop on the bandwagon of those things and use those as promotions to get in front of journalists and push your kind of digital PR angle for them. So those guys are going to cover that on Thursday. And I think that's it. Unless anyone's got any more questions. I'd be really interested if you've tried any of the schema stuff, come onto the website, Niche Website Builder website, fill out the form, shoot me a message me on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, because I'm interested to chat through this kind of thing with people as well. But if not, have a great week, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you all next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.